Okay. Don't worry. Hi everyone. Good night. Good evening. So today I'm back. Thanks for supporting my channel and thanks for showing your girl love. I really do appreciate it. Welcome back. If this is your first time stopping by, welcome back to SKN Corner. So today my topic is about homelessness, and this topic kind of resonate with me because at one point in my life I was also homeless. Yep. It's was a long journey, and we're just gonna give you a summary of it. So basically, I was in a relationship with my daughter's father, and I guess he lost his job, and he asked me to move with him to another state. And of course, me like an idiot, I said yes, even though my whole family said not to go. However, I still went. Long story short, the relationship didn't last, and he moved out. We had a, you know, like a little apartment thing going on, and he moved out. And I'm like, how am I supposed to manage with a young baby, take care of the baby, and pay the rent? And he told me, figure it out. Figure it out. I mean, the blow landed like a slap. I'll never forget that. But anyway, I called my mom, and you know, and she was like, I told you not to go. You know, moms are. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Right now, I don't know what to do. And so, anyway, I started, to packing up my stuff because I'm like, I'm have to come back home. So I started doing that. The only thing, the only thing that I had open was my computer. And so I started surfing the net. And when I was doing that, I came across a job. So I said, let me apply. I didn't think I would get it anyway. But I applied. And one morning, I took the baby to the daycare. And I had left my phone. And I missed the call. So I called them back. So she was like, oh, you applied for so-and-so position, and we just want to give you an interview. Okay, so we set up the time for the interview, and I had to go. So remember, I'm in another state, so I had to, your girl had to drive. So I had my car, so I had to go to the daycare for the owner to map quest the place for me because don't know anything about that state. So, and the job was in another borough. So I had to go. Anyway, when the day came and I went and everything, and interview and everything, everybody was nice, and I got the job. And so I was like, okay, I guess I could do this. The day came for me to start orientation. That very same day that I started orientation, that was the day I became homeless. That was the day your girl became homeless. Okay. So anyway, I went to the interview. I went to the job. The interview was already finished. I already got the job. I went to the job. Didn't know where I was gonna sleep that evening. Okay, so my clothes was in the trunk of my car, my baby stuff, everything in the trunk of my car. So, we went to the orientation. So when I went to the orientation, then no, I asked Kristen. There's a social worker there, and so I asked, and she was like, they have place for homeless, for people who are homeless. Like, okay, great. So I went. After the orientation, I went. So basically, you're supposed to go, like, when you go the first day, and then you're supposed to go back the next day to start the process. However, your girl couldn't go because she had to work, So I went to work, and in the evenings I drove behind the van that carried the people to the place to process. Okay, so we went. And whenever time we went, so when we went, no, then after that, they gave us like a hotel room. But every night, it was a different room, but there always a crib in the room. And they did that. So the weekend came now, and I went the weekend. So when I went, they were saying that they were gonna help me, and they were gonna give me a, what you call it, a one-shot deal. So the one-shot deal is where they find the apartment, and I guess they pay first, last, and deposit, however that works, you know. And it's called a one-shot deal basically. So they were gonna do that. So in the meantime, while they were doing that, they put me up in another hotel, and that I stayed there for like 3 weeks. Yeah. So anyway, I didn't get through because of the type of job that I had. I didn't get through. I didn't know that when you have those type of job, you can't be on, government assistance like that. So I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm back to square one. And she was like, oh, you could always come back. And it's like, why am I gonna come back only to hear the same thing again? It didn't make sense to me. So I was like, okay. I still didn't panic. I called, my friend at the time. I had a friend living in Missouri. That was my childhood friend that we grew up together in Jamaica, right? And I called her, and I was explaining my situation to her, and she said, I have where. So I gave her my location, and she said, she had two uncles who is a super at a building, and they can help. Anyway, she called, but one answered, and I guess one was busy and one didn't answer. However, the one that answered, I practically knew him because, from childhood days, he used to come and look for them rather. So that's how I get to know him. Anyway, that day, it was like the night, and then early morning, then I packed up all my stuff because he said to meet him after work. So packed up everything, take the baby to the daycare and everything. And after work, I picked up the baby and I meet him where I was supposed to meet him. So I stayed with him and his family for like a month. And then after a month, then, an apartment opened up in the building. And he had asked me if I needed, if I wanted. I was like, yeah, I wanted. At the time, it was like a studio, but the way how they set it up, you would never believe it was a studio. It was like a one bedroom. It's all section. Everything was part of. It was very nice, and I paid $720. $720. Excuse me. And I stayed there for like a year, and he never raised my rent. And then one day, another apartment opened up, a bigger apartment opened up, and he asked me if I wanted. I went and I looked at it, and it was bigger, of course, had a lot of space, because at that time, the baby getting big, and she need to, baby do, so they crawl, whatever. So I said, yeah, I need the space, so I took it, and I stayed there. And that the man, he never raised my rent. He raised everybody's rent, and he never raised my rent. And I mean, I was so grateful for that because it helped me to rebuild. You know, I mean, I can talk about it now because I'm in a different position. I'm in a better position now than when I started. Right now, as I'm recording this video, I am in my home. I own my own home. Not many people get the chance to do that. And that's how I was able to rebuild my life. My baby girl, she she lives with me now. She's somewhere here. But things happen, life happens. I mean, sometimes we see people who are homeless on the street, and everyday life goes on, but for them, they're stuck there. What can they do? Nothing. But at the same time, do we even take a time to say, okay, here's a $5, buy food, dinner. I remember when I was homeless, sometimes for days I didn't eat. I did not eat. I tell you no lie. I lied to you not. For days I didn't eat because I have no way. Before I had a job, I didn't have any money. There was no income coming in. There was nothing. Nothing. I couldn't pay the rent at the end of the month. I could not. I could not. For days, I went to bed hungry. But during that time that I went to bed hungry, my baby never went to bed hungry. And that's the honest truth. So, hunger, I know what hunger is. And sometimes when I'm driving and I see those people with their sign, I'm homeless, can you spare a spare change or anything like that, I try to give because I remember where I was coming from. One thing about me, I never forget where I'm coming from. I don't. Because in a heartbeat, you can go back to that. And that's a life where I don't want, and that's somewhere where I don't want to go back to. I don't. I have too much to lose to go back there. So I tried not to be a stuck up person, and I don't think I am. Friends who know me, they can vouch for me because I am not like that. Somebody who doesn't know me may think I am, but it's okay. I don't waste any sleep over that because you don't know me. If you get the chance to know me, you will see who I am, who my heart is. So, when we talk about homelessness, there's so many people who are homeless all over the world. But I'm not talking about over the world, I'm talking about right here in America. There's not much that we could do about it, but you know, maybe if you have something, you could give it to them. You know, if you have like small bills, or like $10 or $20, because trust me, even though they're homeless, they're hungry. They are hungry. There's a number for food. It's 211. You could call them for housing and food anytime, 24 hours, and they will give you food and housing. It's a process, of course. I have some I did receive some I did research some places where you could go for housing and food, and I will link everything in the description box. Um, like I was saying, life happens, and until you walk in that person's shoes, you don't know what's going on in that person's shoes. So never you judge a person or judge a book by cover. Judge a book by the cover because you don't know. You know, and at least I can tell my story. At one time I would never open up to tell anybody, but it's been so long, but now I can talk about it because maybe somebody out there who is going through the same thing, and my story can help. You know, so you don't have to be afraid to tell your story. I mean, we all have story to tell, right? Because we all been around the block at some point, and is that everybody's story is different. Your story might different from my story. My story may different from yours, so it's vice versa. So when people say, "Oh my, she's she's homeless, she's this, she lost her job, she's that," it's it's a lot going on. It's a lot, and especially in this economy. In this economy, there's a lot. The economy, forget it, because rent and a hold is expensive. Okay, some places is 2.5, 3.5. Okay, depends on where you go. You know, it's expensive. Not to mention car. Not to mention car note. You have to if you have a car, you have to pay insurance, and insurance is expensive, and you have to pay everyday bills, utilities, okay, cable bill, light bill, water bill, okay, it, phone bill, credit card bills, everything. It's it's expensive, and so sometimes life happens, and people give up because they just can't do it. They divorce. They got divorced. They can't afford their rent. You know, it's like you're going through nursing school, and life hits you, okay, and you drop out. What can you do? Life happens, and it happened to a lot of us. But what do? You get up and you start over and you rebuild, right? So it's like that. You can't fault a person for stuff that they have no control over. because life and this economy is not easy. It is not easy. People fall on hard times because of the minimum wages. The job that they have, it can't meet their bills. Even you, even me sometimes. Okay, I pay more. How you say it? You pay more bills than what you bring in for the month or every 2 weeks. Let's put it that way. Okay, because you have a mortgage, you have insurance, okay, you have property taxes, okay, you have so many stuff going on at the end of the month. Okay, as one month done, the the cycle goes over and over and over and over and over again. It never stops. It never stops. You get sick, the bill's still coming. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't. They're still coming. They're gonna come. What are you gonna do? Tell me. What are you gonna do? Not pay them? Because if you don't pay them, you know what's gonna happen. We all know what's gonna happen. You'll be on the street, and that is life. Life happens. I'm not saying go on the street to live. I'm not saying that. Don't get me wrong. However, it's just that sometimes when you map out a plan, the plan doesn't always work out. So you're gonna have to have a plan B to fall back on. But how many of us have a plan B? Not many, right? Not many. And I think to me, life, the way I see life, life is like a journey to me because life show you curveballs, right? But you have to find a way or to navigate your way through life. You know, you have to navigate your way out of it. And until you navigate your way out of it, then you will know. And when you come on the other side, then you will see how it is. That's how I look at life. I don't know about you. In your eyes, it probably be a little bit different. But for those curveballs, and I think that sometimes the good Lord that we serve put you in predicaments to see how well you can handle it. How would you come out of it on the other side? How? You know, so I think sometimes people, mm, let's not use people. I think sometimes society on a whole may look at another individual differently and say, oh, she can handle it. She makes a lot of money. She can handle it. But sometimes you don't know what that person is going through. That person probably is suffering. That person probably not eat for days. You understand? Because they can't pay their rent or their mortgage. Whatever that you guys pay at the end of the month or the first of the month. They can't pay it. And then they find themselves on the wrong side of the tracks. Wrong side of the tracks meaning that they're homeless. But I think sometimes too our homelessness comes from you may divorce or you can't pay your bills, you lost your job, or you came from the army, from the service, and everything is just different because are you going through some type of mental health situation? Mental health is a whole nother story. I won't touch on that. I won't touch on that right now. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. So we're just gonna stick to this homelessness. But sometimes that too happens. Things is going on upstairs that we don't know. Especially those veterans. Those are the ones who are more homeless. Not saying that those are the only people that are, but majority of them, 99% of the homeless people are mostly veterans. So I'm gonna ask you something today. When you see a homeless person on the street with a sign or something, try to be a little bit nicer. Give them what you can. You know, they may hungry. I was once hungry too. Many days. I told you that. Many days. For days I didn't eat. And I remember one time I was tired of being in the house. I was tired of not eating, and I went on the street, and there was this lady, and I asked her for $20 just to buy food, and she said, "Oh, follow me to the bank." Me, like an idiot, follow her to the bank. I mean, she did say follow her to the bank. And so I followed her to the bank, and she, did her business and everything. And then she just walk off. I was like, okay. I'm not gonna lie, it hurt. It hurt. It hurt. Okay? So please, I'm just asking you, just be nice to certain people when you see them on the streets, because we don't know what they're going through. We don't know what they're going through until somebody walk a mile in their shoes. We don't know. However, there's the Salvation Army. They're good with helping homeless. They also have women in crisis. It depends on where you live. If you're in Miami-Dade area or you're in Broward area, sorry, I have some service that can help with that. I have youth in crisis. I have women in distress, women and children in distress. That I'm gonna link everything down below in the description box so you can see. So if you know anyone who is going through it, or you know anybody that could need a helping hand, just reach out and help. It doesn't take much to help, all right? Because at some point in our life, we do need help, right? So who are we to say we're not going to help, right? We always help, okay? So I just want to say thank you guys for listening to me. Thank you for stopping by. I'm sorry about my charm here. You know who that is. When every time there's people outside, it moves, make noise, whatever. But I'm sorry about that. But thank you for stopping by, and thank you for listening to my story. And if you know anybody, once again, who is going through homelessness, there's 211. You could call that number 24/7 for food and shelter. And these organizations, they're non-profit, and they're also funded by the government. Okay, so it's a good way to start. So once again, I will link everything down below. So if you know anybody who's going through homelessness, you can reach out and you can help. Just start the process for them and let them continue. We're always here to encourage people, right? and that's what we do. So, once again, thank you for listening to my story. Until next time, bye bye.